Hello, everybody. This is Chris Schubert, VP of Business Development at CNSG, and welcome to episode 2 in our cloud education series, Cross-Selling in the Cloud. Today, we're going to be talking about some winning strategies for connecting cloud to UCaaS and SD-WAN. As always, this is a joint presentation from CNSG and our cloud technology partner, Dell Technologies. See how many times I can say technology in one webinar. And I also want to give a quick mention to our cloud service providers, Expedient, Flexential, Rackspace, and TierPoint. The full Dell Technologies cloud product line is available through these 4 choice cloud providers of CNSG. That's a mouthful. But the important thing to remember is we have 4 different avenues for you from proven cloud service providers that can assist you with your Dell Technologies strategy. So we'll be getting in a little bit more about those 4 guys here in just a moment. But the good news, folks, is that is the last PowerPoint slide for a bit because you guys all know how I hate slides. So we're going to get into the conversation here. I am joined by my good friend, whom you've seen before, Mike Piccinini of Dell Technologies. Hey, Mike, how you doing today?
Hey, all good. How are you?
Doing all right. It is not a bad day at all. So, conversation topic today is about cross-selling in the cloud. Now, as everybody knows here at CNSG and our friends over at AppSmart, 2 of the most dominant products are UCaaS and SD-WAN. Hey guys, don't worry, we're not training on you on those 2 today. And the reason we don't have to is because they are accepted products in the channel today. Any given month can be making anywhere from 40 to 70% of our revenue in any given month is coming from that SD-WAN and UCaaS area. It's even been accelerated during the COVID-19 era. However, CNSG is built upon the idea of that converged network solution. And a converged network solution is the idea that there's multiple product elements that make up a complete technology strategy. The partners that we see orders coming in from, it's not unusual where we will see UCaaS as a standalone product, or we'll see SD-WAN as a standalone. A lot of times we see those 2 together. But you know what we don't see a lot of? We don't see a lot of those deals bundled together with cloud, which is really interesting, folks, because if you're not familiar with it, cloud, the whole concept of virtualization, DRaaS, IaaS, Office 365, everything that exists in the cloud, that's what your UCaaS and your SD-WAN is connecting to. And it's a big key component to that technology strategy. However, it's a piece that we see so much money being left on the table. Now, Mike, obviously from your perspective, you're in the Dell world and all you do is talk cloud. You don't talk zip trunks and UCaaS and mobility apps as we do as our second language. But to you, why is a cloud discussion so crucial to a complete technology strategy?
I think it's a great point. And, Chris, we've been talking about this, you and I, for a while. I think it's almost one and the same. Hate to make it too simple, but to me, it's that consistent talk track of just, it's modernization, right? It's the fact that folks are transforming or looking for ways to transform the business to be more relevant, more cost efficient, right? Especially now with everyone being connected or always on, that's where I think this explosive growth for UCaaS is tightly coupled, I think, with updating and refining and increasing your network capabilities with an SD-WAN type of solution. And to me, just being more on the on this true data center side, right, infrastructure and storage and servers and hyperconvergence and everything. To me, it's that logical step, right? If I'm in a market where I'm looking to modernize, if I'm looking to virtualize and be more readily available for my collaboration platforms, to me it's basically that logical step of course I'm going to need that similar functionality and availability of my technology systems. The applications we use to run the business, for our folks to sell and quote and communicate with our customers, and to me that kind of rounds out that story of that connectivity and the play for edge core cloud. Cloud's pretty much in each one of those segments, right? And it's ultimately connected by hopefully those updated SD-WAN solutions that you guys are already selling so successfully in the market.
You had a lot of different eyes going on in that answer, and I think that's huge because the optimization idea, the optimizing and modernizing, those two components of folks should be in your conversation with every single customer. And we know customers come to us for a variety of reasons. And a lot of times we get laser focused on the one thing that they've contacted us about. I need new internet access, or I want to move to a hosted voice system. But it's so important to help that customer understand what's your full strategy to modernize and get them into the cloud and into the 21st century. Even though we're 2020 at this point, they should be there, but we still got some folks hanging out there with old Windows PCs too. Getting us modernized with a full unified communication strategy built upon a quality network with SD-WAN at its core. And then from there, work into that optimization argument. Because a lot of times, what you can optimize with a cloud or UCaaS or an SD-WAN solution can help you afford one or the other. For example, if you can, let's say you're doing a customer where SD-WAN is going to be a cost increase because we're adding additional connections, we're bumping up bandwidth. If we can optimize how their network is functioning by offloading to the cloud and reducing IT expense, that can help you afford that SD-WAN and vice versa. There's almost always going to be an area for optimization that you can apply, but you have to go after more than one. If you only stick with just one, you may or may not always win. Another key piece there is in consultative sales for our partners, always realize that everything starts with three letters, W, H, and Y. Why? Why is this customer wanting to move to SD-WAN? Why are they wanting to implement a UCaaS solution? Mike, from looking to uncover cloud opportunities, what are some hot topics that a partner from the Dell perspective should be looking out for?
Yeah, the why. Right? That's the best thing to be continually, I think, asking ourselves, right? I think overall, I mentioned a few minutes ago, it's that modernization, it's that transformation. In today's market especially, right? I think we've both seen fundamental shifts in the way we all work anyway. Mm-hmm. That kind of major move, right? As you're modernizing and as you're changing communications and the way you connect everything together, it's entirely that, to me, play for cloud services being readily available, right? We see folks using more technology consumption than ever before, right? People are online more than ever before, and you always have to be available. And the cloud really gives you that capability to be more accessible, right? It gives you bursting capabilities. It gives you a lot more of a robust kind of solution platform, if you will, than heritage architectures, right? It's just more there all the time in a more consistent manner than folks, I think, had been able to deliver previously.
You're spot on with that. One of the things that we've seen, obviously, in the last 3 months is we've moved to the work from home world. Well, work from home only works, and it only truly functions, folks, if all the applications that the customer is wanting to get to, they can reach from anywhere. So if you're, and from a close point as well, because we know when it comes to cloud, latency is your worst enemy. Same thing with hosted voice as well. Anything latency, connectivity, that kills you. So when you virtualize, when you bring something into a Dell Technologies solution, and you're able to take that data and replicate it to multiple points across the US or even the world for easy access, that makes that work from home solution, that remote employee solution, work all the better. Again, it always starts with that network. So when a partner is dealing with SD-WAN, that's always about building a better network. We're talking about being able to have better visibility. We're talking about having better security. And obviously the key point always being redundancy. But what's funny? Sometimes we miss the mistake and we don't ask, what the devil are they connecting to? That's always a key thing is, what are they connecting to? And that brings in that cloud discussion. But for a lot of partners, it stops there. Okay, we're connecting to AWS, we're connecting to Azure. Okay, I've checked that off and I'll ask my engineer. Mike, for folks that are not necessarily cloud experts, what are some great strategies for continuing that cloud discussion once you have an idea of what they're connecting to?
Sure, or still trying to define, right? I think the one thing that's also really, really consistent is, multi-cloud even, right? So I don't think it's ever as simple as, hey, I'm doing SD-WAN, I'm going to connect to AWS, end of conversation. In a lot of the market research that we do and a lot of the metrics we see, most companies, right, are going to have a multi-cloud, desire or already leveraging multi-cloud. I mean, 60, 70, 80% of them, right? And many of them are going in combination with, legacy premises solutions that they may have to age out, public cloud, and the networking to connect them all. But I think that's, going back to the why, right? I think it's a wonderful place to go. Why are we doing anything? Why are we upgrading our network? Do you have more users? Are you looking to increase your availability? Are you planning potentially a new, disaster recovery or a high availability type of deployment model? Another thing that's just happening in the market just overall, right? I think we're seeing more and more mergers and acquisitions than ever before. So we see a lot of our customers, a lot of our end users just looking at the combination of maybe two companies and there's redundancies and looking to rationalize all that. What a great time to not just modernize and change over your networking, right? But look at those multiple data centers and the multiple public clouds that may be getting leveraged. That's kind of where I think it's such a great opportunity, Chris. Even when you and I are talking, right? Your history and your heritage coming from a significant player within networking, right?
Right.
I'm more on the other side, from the data center side. It's like chocolate and peanut butter getting together, right? I think we both leverage off of a lot of that discussion because throughout my career, I've always been focused on selling storage and networking within a facility. And oftentimes kind of the networking part was the thing I left off the table in my discussion.
Yeah, you're asking the question, okay, I've built this awesome cloud for you. How the hell are you getting to me?
Right. And it's funny, sometimes it's just that we get comfortable selling what we're selling or consulting, how we consult, right? But at the end of the day, I think that's where you guys, from a CNSG perspective, can really help round out that it's going to challenge folks to run out of opportunities to ask another why or show how things can be delivered, leveraging the ecosystem of partners you guys represent.
All killer points. For our partner community, CNSG isn't new at this. We've been doing this a long time, and unfortunately, everyone knows I've been in this channel way too darn long at this point. But one of the things I've seen is many partners get into the technology consulting game, and it's focused on just cost optimization. They want to save you money on your phone bills, and that's how so many people got into doing the channel. But the most successful partners today, and you guys have heard me preach about this a ton over the last several years, you have to become that true technology advisor that can speak to the complete strategy. Yes, internet access, SD-WAN is part of it. Yes, UCaaS is part of it. But mobility, cloud strategy, customer experience, all of these different areas are things that you need to at least be able to dip a toe in. And that's where engineering resources come in too. And that's where our cloud service providers and CNSG can really help you. So if you get into that conversation and you use some of these strategies from Mike to kind of deepen the cloud discussion, but you don't know what you've got, don't immediately jump to doing the quote. Take a moment, talk to that CNSG engineer, talk to that cloud service provider engineer, and really help build that total strategy. Because I'll tell you, when you do that, customers are blown away. Because when you can come in there and talk to them about multiple different types of technologies and a complete strategy, there is no direct sales rep out there for any single provider that can do that. That's why we have so many carriers and so many folks in our portfolio. That's why we partnered with Dell to bring this technology series to you and to bring emphasis on the cloud, is we want you to be able to build that complete technology solution. Because when you do that, you're unbeatable. And one of the biggest unbeatable pieces is going back again, Mike, you talked about with the modernization style of this. Ultimately, UCaaS, which used to be hosted PBX, which used to be integrated circuits, which used to be Centrex. It's all been on a track of modernization. SD-WAN used to be MPLS, used to be layer 2. We brought all these things together, and the cloud has gone through an evolution as well. And you think about the different products. Obviously, software is in its own world where we talk about all the software applications there, but from the Dell technology perspective and hyperconvergence, which we talked about last time, what are the cloud services that you think combine the best with SD-WAN and UCaaS solutions to take that peanut butter cup and, I don't know, throw some nuts in it or throw some caramel? What makes it even better?
I wonder how long we can keep this example going for, but we'll stay on it.
I've got a lot of bad dad jokes. We can keep this going for an hour and a half, but I think our audience would get really tired of it.
Yeah, they'd be tired of it. This is you and me talking. Yeah, I think, from a Dell perspective, right? I think when you round out the big picture and why, we wanted to embark in this relationship with CNSG, Chris, is really, from a Dell Technologies perspective, we look at the market and say, you know what, we believe we're at this beginning stage of the next industrial revolution, right? Data is the new currency, right? And how you leverage it is going to, differentiate your company or, prevent you from going extinct, really, right? I think when you look at it from our perspective, we take a macro outlook to things basically and say, look, at the genesis of things, Dell Tech, we want to be your number one infrastructure provider, right? But it doesn't always necessarily have to be end user owned and operated. What we're seeing, again, based on the metrics of the market, people are looking for alternative consumption models. They want cloud. Some that have been early adopters to cloud possibly may be looking to repatriate that public cloud environment to more of like a private cloud type of play, right? Depending on what I like to just kind of go back to, which are the basics around, it's all about the workload, it's all about the data, right? But it's really back to the basics of, to the why, but also the what of, it's about performance, it's about, economics, it's about trust, right? If you take those performance and economics and trust metrics, and then you add something that's, I think, extremely important, the actual like data gravity. Where is this? Where this data sits, is it best suited to be on the edge? Is it something that's lightweight enough to put somewhere else and move it around frequently? That dictates a lot, and it's also kind of close to the world that we were started in from like an SD-WAN perspective, right? The networking capabilities that I'm putting in place, are they going to fall into the best way I can optimize and leverage performance? Is it going to cost me a fortune, or can I do it more efficiently? Do I trust where it is and where it's going, right? There's some folks that I'm sure you partners are working with that have compliance requirements around, HIPAA, SLED, FEDS type use cases, right? Financial, PCI, all those, industry specific use cases will help dictate, how we find the right partners for the right workload, for the right solution set. All those things I think are extremely relevant. And if you go back into, why some of these technologies from like our perspective, software, to your point, it's eating the world, right? And software has really changed, from a UCaaS perspective, right? I think it's just the same walk of life that's gone into the data center. Software defined is really beginning to rule how these cloud operators run their businesses and have modernized themselves and transformed themselves. In days of old, there was monolithic hardware systems, right? And they were admin individually for a tenant per se. But we've seen explosive growth. I mean, Dell Tech, we're the industry leader in hyper-converged solutions, right? And the reason being is we have a wonderful, company with aligned businesses like Dell Tech, where we think we make the best infrastructure products for backup and storage and server and compute type platforms, as well as laptops and desktops, right? We have an aligned business called VMware, which, we believe is basically the operating system, the software for the multi-cloud world. And HCI combines all those all into one, right? It's a hyper-converged platform that includes storage and networking and connectivity in that data center use case, and it's all powered by VMware. So that's where, I think from like our technologies that are enabling our providers, you put the provider, hat on and say, great, now how does this cloud company differentiate themselves? And maybe it's a regional specific play, right? Maybe it's a DR specific play. Maybe it's an industry specific play, but that's a great thing where we find these opportunities and can go back into a trusted environment like yours and really find the right cloud partner to bring the right cloud solution to the end user for that workload, for that particular use case.
So speaking of partnerships, one of the things when we announced Dell Technologies as a CNSG market leader, first question was, oh, wow, Dell's in the channel. It's like, well, guys, hey, Dell has always been in the channel, but much like some of the other manufacturers, your solutions, such as VxRail, which was built, born, and bred for VMware, you actually don't provide those directly as the operational expense yourself. You work via our cloud service provider family. So those are available through our program. Obviously, we've chatted about our friends at Expedient, Flexential, TierPoint, and of course Rackspace. 4 carriers that are similar but has some very distinct differences. But one thing they have in common is the availability of Dell. Now, in choosing in these 4, Mike, I've got my answer, which I'll tail end with, but Mike, from your perspective, why are these 4 such a great choice for sourcing Dell Technology services?
No, it's a great question. Yeah, I think from selfishly my perspective, because they're all part of our Global Alliances Cloud Service Provider program. They represent to me the best in what they do, as well as a specialty or specialists in their particular areas of focus. Maybe again going back to it could be regional, it could be a DR specific play, industry specific play. The real, focus area that we, refine down to those 4 is basically that they represent longevity and consistency within our program. We've been successful with them through the years. They're also highly aligned with our VMware counterpart team, right, that also has a program in place to represent cloud and cloud services. And, they've shown themselves, ongoing success, right? They've been relevant in the space in history, in today's market. They're highly trusted and always available from a consultative perspective to help, deliver the right solution at the right time, right place.
And from the CNSG perspective, folks, Expedient, Rackspace, TierPoint, and Flexential, we had some choices of who we wanted to feature with Dell in this program. And the reason that we suggested these 4 was because of the relationship and the diversity. So with all 4 of these, we have a very, very strong producing relationship with all 4. We have, even with the biggest of the big, we've got the executive alignment, the connections, et cetera, and we trust them. We know when you deal with Expedient, Rackspace, Flexential, or TierPoint, you're dealing with a quality team that's going to help you get across the finish line. But we also noticed we didn't just pick one, because everyone is slightly different in terms of their culture, their reach, where their data centers are located at, and we want you to have that variety of choices. So when you come to CNSG for Dell Technologies, we'll get you with a couple of these folks to get engaged, figure out what the best solution is for you, so you don't walk away from a deal, so that you've got all the available options to you, and you can truly build that complete technology strategy. Well, Mike, this has been an awesome conversation. I hope everyone has enjoyed it so far. We do have a little bit of content that Mike wants to bookend us with and kind of take us home on this conversation. If you have any questions so far, please hit that Q&A link, and we'll get to those at the conclusion of this. But Mike, let me throw those lovely slides back up there. Notice I didn't make them this time. They're all you. And kind of get some viewpoint on where Dell is seeing in the market going from a trend standpoint.
Right. Yeah. Thanks, Chris. I think just again, not to kill everyone with content, but keeping it to 2 short slides.
Sure.
I think just more from a validation perspective, right? Overall, and Chris, I'm sure we can share these out to folks, but I think these, overall industry metrics, right? Things that we really see. In the rear view, but also from an outlook perspective, right? And just kind of reiterating some of the high points, if you will, that we were talking about a few minutes ago. End users, end customers, there is a massive area to consolidate and to modernize, right? And part of this is a lot of them are assessing, hey, do we, specifically want to have our own data centers any longer? Do we want to leverage a co-location type partner? While we're evaluating that co-location type, experience, should we be considering a private cloud, right? I mean, do we want to own and operate our own cloud, platforms any longer, or should we be bringing that to people that do that for a living and focus back to where we should from a revenue, generation in the businesses that they're in? And that's really what some of these metrics are focused on. Is basically end users, customers of ours, right, that are looking to basically change the way they consume technology. And it's, again, going back to the alignment with what we see folks doing with UCaaS, right? It's a much different world than it was 5-6 years ago with how people collaborate and communicate. Same thing with SD-WAN, right? It's a lot different of a market now than it was 5-10 years ago, specific to how companies connected them, their remote offices or their headquarters or their international offices. And again, the cloud conversation can almost continue on forever, Chris, right? I mean, when we're looking at, that 67% at the bottom left, right? You need more than just a public cloud. All the way over to the right on the bottom, the repatriation from public cloud. Some folks were early adopters out there, and they were saying, hey, you know what, based on the economics, based on the latency or the use case, I need to get this thing into a more prescribed and maybe more consistent operations model, right? And that's going back to what we were talking about a few minutes ago.
Going back to our earlier
not
discussion.
to drain this thing too far, that's really what I felt would be helpful.
Yeah, and just kind of going back to our earlier discussion with the idea, you look at these stats, guys. I know it's real easy to see stats and lose track of the point of them. But the idea here is you should see opportunity. You should definitely see opportunity here. Much as we've talked about the UCaaS market's exploding, SD-WAN is in a conversion space. Look at the cloud. Look at these cloud figures. There's a ton of things coming up that are going to be forcing this discussion for your customers. Not the least of which is, well, I just don't even want to say the word, but COVID-19 and what we've been dealing with the last several months. Mike, how is that accelerating things for you?
Yeah, I think everyone probably in your community is seeing it, right? I think every conversation that had anything aligned to UCaaS or networking, it's the same thing with the cloud, right? Everything's been pulled forward because no one in January, February timeframe expected that their entire workforce would be working remote currently, right? And what that does from an extended perspective of, holy cow, I now need to connect to all these endpoints who are all logging in at the same time, which, by the way, is also probably the same time that everyone else in the household is getting online and going to school and also doing their jobs. So what we've really seen, and this is just due to researching multiple market analysts, right, whether it be Gartner, MarketWatch, and others. So many of these use cases, right? So many of these expansions of cloud consumption for infrastructure or platform products. We've seen massive upticks with new disaster recovery and high availability type deployments, as well as just bursting, right? The larger consumption of applications all at the same time, right? We're all at home, we're all working the same kind of office hours, if you will. We're all hitting that application that 6 months ago may have been running a lot leaner, because folks were on the road, people were doing different types of off-site meetings. So if anything, the new normal, I don't think it's going to change too much for us. These systems need to be more available, highly available. So we've seen a pretty significant pull in, if you will, and expansion of a lot of the components I was just talking about on the other slide.
Awesome. Awesome stuff, guys. Well, we've hit our 30-minute mark. As always, we try to keep these things short, quick, and to the point to allow our partner community to kind of get on with their day. Final takeaways, folks. UCaaS and SD-WAN are obviously dominant products, but they are only part of that complete technology solution. Cloud is that other critical piece. Not every customer has mobility. Not every customer has software as a service, but almost every customer that's going to have a UCaaS or SD-WAN network, they're connecting to some type of cloud, public, private, hybrid, whatever it happens to be. Have that conversation and know that Dell Technologies and our partners, Expedient, Rackspace, TierPoint, Flexential, of course, the CNSG engineering community, we've got your back 100%, because as always, it's the relationship with you guys that matters. Mike, thanks very much for joining us for this second episode of the Technology Education Series. We'll be back in a couple of months with another episode. And until then, everybody, safe selling. Talk to you later.